Today we want to take a closer look at one of the most influential designers in German car industry. A man who designed legendary cars at NSU, Audi and BMW. But also a man who was a convicted murderer. Claus Luthe. So let's take a look at light and shadow in the life of this genius designer. Claus Luthe was born on 8th of December 1932 in Wuppertal as the second of 5 children. His family were strict Catholics and he grew up in a simple working-class environment. His father was a carpenter and was drafted for military service early. To protect children from Allied bombings in the Second World War, also Luthe and his older brother were sent to a farmer in Schlesien. Life wasn't easy there and he had to work hard and a lot, but he also enjoyed the time in the countryside. Later the boys returned and the mother lived with her 5 children constantly in a basement to be safe from bombing. When bombing raids got heavier again, the family flew to a vineyard near Würzburg. For Luthe, it was like a paradise. He was in the nature, fruit trees everywhere, and since they lived with a wine trader, they always got wine from him. From this time, he remembered alcohol as something good and he didn't see the danger of it. In November 1944, he saw his father for the last time. In March 1946, the family got informed that the father died in Russia. Now, the mother was alone with her 5 children. They all worked a lot, went to church every day and swore to stick together. Family was very important for him. Luthe wanted to become an architect, but he needed to earn money quickly for the family. His older brother already worked as a mechanic, and so he left school in 1948 and learned the trade of bodywork fitter and bodywork plumber at the bus manufacturer Voll in Würzburg. He always wanted to learn more, took additional courses and had very good grades. In 1954, he passed the master's exam as a coach builder and completed his studies as a coach work and vehicle engineer at the Technical College in Kaiserslautern. In 1955, with his new qualification, he started a position as bodywork engineer at NSU Fiat in Heilbronn. The first project he worked on here was the front of the Fiat Nuova 500. Also at this time, he married his girlfriend Gertrud. A year later, in 1956, their first child was born, Ulrich. Luthe was proud and happy to have a son. During this time, he changed to NSU in the neighbor city Neckarsulm as a designer. At Fiat he created drawings which were sent to Italy and he never heard of it again. At NSU he built up the design department, because they didn't have one. A year later, in 1957, his daughter was born. To take load off his wife, Luthe mainly cared for his son, while his wife cared for the newborn daughter. His first own car project at NSU was the Prince 4, whose sport version later became the NSU TT, named after the Isle of Man TT, the legendary motorcycle race where NSU was very successful, and that's also the reason for the name of the Audi TT. Luthe based his Prince design on the Chevrolet Corvair with the surrounding edge. Luthe worked a lot, sometimes 120 additional hours per month. They could go on holiday in company test cars. They could buy the kids all sorts of things. They had a good life. In 1964, his wife Gertrud got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, age 29. First, the family didn't know what was wrong with the mother. She could barely walk. Everyone was worried, but Luthe and his family stick together and never told anyone. A year later, she gave birth to twins. That was a surprise. They were not prepared for that. At NSU, he became chief designer in 1966 and designed the legendary Ro80, a car which was far ahead of its time and with an aerodynamic design in the 1960s which influenced European car design significantly. It had rectangular headlights, an angled side edge to make the car look more dynamic instead of the hanging backs of that time. We see a round, well-integrated boot. It had chrome pillars to make them look smaller. And we see the third side window, which we find on Audi cars until today. The next project was the NSU K70, a limousine and estate car which was positioned below the Ro80. It had the typical Luthe design elements: the surrounding line, the third side window and short rear door. Learn everything about rear door design in my other video. The thin pillars, and the edgy look. But NSU was struggling, and so was VW at that time. Volkswagen held on to the rear engine concept for far too long and quickly needed competitive cars with front engine. They purchased Audi in 1965, but now made Audi purchase NSU to be able to use the K70 for their own portfolio. So suddenly, VW had a car with water-cooled inline four-cylinder engine, front-wheel drive and modern design. And Luthe's design came on the market as VW, while he now became Audi's lead designer. He designed the Audi 50, which was offered as the first VW Polo shortly after. And he also created the Audi 100C2, now with the Luthe typical third side window, surrounding line, thin pillars and many similarities to Ro80 and K70. In the meantime, the situation at home wasn't easy. His wife was sick and needed support with the 4 children. Luthe worked long hours and wasn't there. His teenage son Ulrich, who was stuttering from a young age, had problems in school. He had to repeat classes, was fighting with teachers. The parents sent him to boarding school. And when he was 13 years old, the mother realizes that he's drinking and smoking. When he was drunk, he didn't stutter. The father is often not there and doesn't know about the drinking. Ulrich drops out of school, spends 2 months in a kibbutz in Israel and starts an apprenticeship as a draftsman. He finishes the apprenticeship and even does his A-level. He starts to study but drops out after 2 semesters. At work, Claus Luthe becomes BMW's new lead designer from 1976, and the family has to move again. He transforms the look of the brand and creates many iconic cars. The second 5 Series generation E28, the legendary E30, the futuristic, overwhelmingly pretty and totally over-engineered E31. Check out my videos with my E31 below. The elegant and powerful second 7 Series E32 with the first German post-war V12, and the legendary E34 and E36. BMWs reached a level of elegance which is popular until today and differentiate them from the competition. Meanwhile at home, Luthe's son Ulrich created more problems. He has many ideas for new jobs but never does something for very long. The father supports him, also financially. Ulrich wants to do so many things, but one thing he doesn't want: to become like his father. He was hanging around with friends, drinking, smoking, taking drugs. His father is following him sometimes to these places. Ulrich shared a flat with his drug-addicted girlfriend. The father gave him money to survive and organized a job in BMW's design department for him, but he didn't last long. After that, he gave him a job in the BMW production line, but he only stayed for a few months. In 1989, when his masterpiece, the E31, came on the market, his son's girlfriend died from a drug overdose. Ulrich's situation got worse, and Luthe brought his son home and gave him a room in his house. He said, "No one in the world can help our son but us." His sick wife didn't say anything. The son felt watched, patronized and judged. Every evening he went out to pubs. His father drove around to pick him up and bring him home. He brought his drunk son to bed every night. He woke him up every morning and drove him to work, to BMW. Because, in the meantime, Luthe went to his colleagues and persuaded them to give his son another chance. At the beginning of 1990, Claus Luthe was depressive, exhausted and agitated. He couldn't concentrate anymore and reduced business trips to 1 day, so his sick wife didn't have to be alone with the drunk son. He moved appointments and business meetings. Even his doctor, his therapist and drug experts advised him to kick his son out, but Luthe couldn't. In that year, his iconic E36 came on the market. At Good Friday, relatives came to visit. The whole family hoped that the 33-year-old son wouldn't go out and drink tonight. But if they back him, he would go anyway and get even more drunk. He threw his father's camera on the ground and said he shouldn't make a scene, he will tidy it up later, he's back shortly anyway. When he came back, he was drunk, couldn't walk straight, smiled at parents and visitors. These days, he didn't disappear in his room and slept like usually, he was looking for trouble. He shouted at them, called the father a wimp, threw more things around, demanded to call his aunt in America. The father said, "No, you cannot call her, you are too drunk." Then he threatened to beat up his cousin and his sick mother. His father begged him not to and dialed his aunt's number for him, to avoid worse. Then he ordered his father to mix him his favorite drink like every evening, some liquor with sherry. Luthe mixed it for his son, who then finally went to bed. Family members kept on telling him, "How can you let this happen? How can you let him talk to you like that? You need to do something about him." Luthe cried. His wife tried to comfort him. Like every evening, he went to his son's room again and switched the light off. He went to bed, but couldn't sleep. He needed to do something. He got up again, got a big knife, went to his son's room and stabbed him to death. At the trial, the difficult family situation was taken into account and he was sentenced to 2 years and 9 months for manslaughter in a less severe case. After being in prison for a short time, his sentence was reduced and he could go home. BMW was waiting for him. They kept the top designer position open, but couldn't employ a convicted murderer as top manager. So they agreed on an early retirement and kept Luthe as external consultant in the design team until Chris Bangle took over. Luthe lived in Munich with his wife and passed away in 2007. His designs transformed the car world and influenced it until today. He was a genius designer, but not many know about the difficult private life. Where's light, there's also shadow. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and check out my other videos for more.